1, 2, 3, let's go!
Well, hello everybody, Anthony here. Welcome back to another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. Yes, that's right. We're trekking along with our reboot, our restart, our refresh, our reimagining era. All the re's are happening right now. We are 2 for 2 for putting out episodes of the show back to back. And for that, I'm going to, give myself a little pat on the back. I don't know if you can pick that up through the mic. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's me patting myself on the back because it's quite an accomplishment to get 2 podcast episodes up as a single dad. In case you missed last week's episode was kind of like an introduction, if you will, into the show, who I am, what this whole shindig is all about, and I kind of explained the fact that, hey, I'm just a real life dude, real life single dad, doing his thing, working a job, raising 2 girls, and then throwing a podcast into all of that mix. And so yeah, I'm not an actor. This is not a fancy set. This is just me hanging out in my living room. I'm sure some of you are out there like, yeah, we could tell that you're not a pro at this, boy. We could tell you're just kind of doing this thing, but it's true, and I am. So hopefully, when we talk about certain things on the show, it's coming from a perspective of somebody who legit gets it. So very glad to have you all with us yet again. I'm just trying really hard, honestly, to keep my energy up for this episode. Cause last night I went to like a margarita crawl around like the downtown area of my community. Like different businesses had like margarita stops, like 20 different businesses did this. So you'd go get your drink, go to another one. And it was fun, but I'm getting older. I'm getting up there in the years. I'm not a young 21, 22, 23-year-old anymore. So it takes me a little bit of time to kind of recover when I do stuff like that. And they're fun though. Like, again, I explained this on the first episode. Go back and listen to episode 1 if you haven't. I think it's really good. Again, you get to know me a little bit. But I explained on that episode that I have my kids week on, week off, rotating back and forth when it comes to the shared custody thing. And so on my quote unquote off weeks from having my kids with me full time, I'll go out and I'll do, those social events and stuff like that. And I'll go have some adult fun. But I just always need to remember, hey, dude, like, again, you're not young. So when you do stuff like that, you need to give yourself some recovery time because so that was last night, which was a Saturday. I'm recording this episode on a Sunday and actually get my kids later today on this Sunday. So the whole time I was putting them back last night, I was thinking, dude, you gotta stay a little fresh because you get your kids tomorrow and they're not going to care if you want to lay down and take a nap or if you have a headache or whatever. They're going to want to go. So, dad life, single parent reality, just in general. So, I'm feeling good. I'm doing good. I feel all right. I didn't go too crazy. The thing is, when I go to events like that, I had to tell my friends to hold me accountable when it comes to this because I know myself. The thing is so the event itself, the margarita crawl around town, is about 3 hours long, right? It's like from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. But the tricky part is when the event gets over, you're feeling good, you're feeling loose, you have some booze in you. That's when you're like, hey, all right, the event's over. Let's go to this bar and let's keep the party going. Let's go here. Let's keep the party going. Let's go back to this person's house, keep the party going. Who wants a shot? Who wants this drink? Who wants that? That's when you get to trouble. You gotta have the discipline when an event like that is over to say, all right, I'm good. I'm going to go home. I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to watch some Netflix. I'm going to go to bed. So it's always easier said than done, especially when you're in that moment. But I was pretty disciplined. I did pretty good last night. So yeah, feeling pretty good. I'm just preparing for a super busy week ahead because my oldest daughter, Ev, my 7-year-old is about to turn 8 in just a few days. And so this is her birthday week. And thankfully I get to spend this whole week with her. She's at my house this week and I have her on her actual birthday this upcoming Saturday. And so it's going to be a week full, I'm sure, of her reminding me 50,000 times a day that it's her birthday week. And so that justifies me taking her here doing this, buying this, eating this, all these things. I'm sure it's coming. So she's going to want to get spoiled this week. And so I've been dealing with that. So that's a lot of busyness, and honestly, not just a lot of busyness, but a lot of financial stress, I guess. All right. No, we're real here on the Single Parents Podcast. We always keep it a buck. We're always going to be honest. We're always going to be upfront. No shenanigans here. It has been, some financial stress leading up to this week, because I know it is her birthday, and we do have some things planned, and birthday presents and things like that. But then on top of that, my car was in the shop for months. That's a whole other story. My car was in the shop getting its transmission fixed for months due to some sketchiness and shadiness, and like I said, maybe I'll tell that full story on another episode. But had to drop a whole bunch of money finally to get my car out of the shop. I have it home now, but all that hit at the same time as getting ready for her birthday week. And then back to school starts in 2 weeks. And so we're sending them to this, like a charter school. The girls are going to a charter school this year, and they have to wear uniforms. I mean, it's not like a specific uniform that all the kids have exactly the same clothes, but they have to wear a certain color shirt and certain kind of pants. So we got to go shopping for that. And then there's the normal back to school shopping list thing. So we're getting ready for that. And then, you just got normal bills. My garbage bill is due. I feel like my garbage bill is always due, even though it's only supposed to be coming every 3 months. I feel like those 3 months are always here. So that's always, so it's just one thing on top of another financially. And I'm working my job. I work kind of a corporate 9-to-5 job. It's pretty cool. It's a remote job that I get to do in the medical equipment space. So I kind of help people get wheelchairs and walkers and other medical equipment across the country, and I do it from home, so the girls are able to hang out during the summer and they don't have to go to sitters and stuff like that. And so it's pretty cool. I like my job. I'm not going to complain, but it does get tough and does get tight sometimes, because I started this new job, the medical equipment thing, about 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago. So kind of just getting into it, kind of getting, I'm kind of the new guy. So you got to go through the evaluation process, and then you get reviewed, and then you get your raises. It's just the whole corporate structure thing. So as I'm getting into the whole process, getting my foot through the door and all that stuff, I'm still just catching up on a lot of things financially, still building up my bank account, still doing all the things that I have to do as an adult, still got to pay the bills. The rent is still due first of every month, all those things. I'm trying to keep up, and it's good. I'm glad I have that stability in this job. But to be super honest, there's times where I still have to do, some side hustles on the side to make sure that not even just to pay some bills, but to have freaking groceries in my cabinet for us for the week. Whose idea was it to raise the price of food this much? This is ridiculous. I drop $100-200 on groceries. I look and my cart's barely halfway full. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but that's how I feels. So sometimes I'm out hustling and doing what I got to do, not to do anything extravagant, but just to have the groceries on top of doing all the other stuff I have to do in the adult life. So I've just kind of been working through that, and it's actually kind of interesting. I've been working through that and thinking through that, because I recently just had a conversation with a friend not too long ago about what it's like financially as a single parent. And I think their point was something to the effect of a lot of people just can't afford to be single parents these days. A lot of people in general, single, married, whatever, whatever the context is, just people in general, especially in our country, are just trying to figure things out regardless, right? I know two adult households, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure things out, trying to make sure rent is paid. The cost of this is going up, and I'm a millennial, so a lot of people my age are trying to figure out how to buy houses, but we can't afford it. So it's just all these things are just a normal part of reality for so many people. And I know this isn't the case for everybody. I know, again, we're making some generalizations. I know there's people in different financial realities. So some people, maybe even some single parent people out there, probably doing really well. And if that's you, if that's the case, like that's awesome. We're going to lift you up. We're going to celebrate that. And maybe some people are doing the single parent thing, but when it comes to their financial situation, it kind of helps because maybe they're getting something like child support checks or something like that. So even though technically they're the only adult in the house, they have the co-parent, the mom, the dad, paying some money to help support the kid every month. And so I'm sure that's definitely a blessing. But again, so yeah, different situations for sure. But I know for a lot of people, and for the context of our show, single parent households, it's tough. And to the point that my friend was making is that it's almost impossible for some people to be a single parent, making some of the wages that they're making these days, and trying to take care of a house and provide even the basic necessities solo. Like it might be pretty close to impossible nowadays. And so I was just kind of thinking, I've been thinking a lot about that for other people's situations, thinking a lot about that for my situation. So little plug right now for my own selfish situation. We want to grow the show. We want the show to be good, to be successful. And hey, maybe, the more that this show grows and succeeds, maybe that'll help me and my kids help financially. So if that's, if you look at me, if you're watching the video version of this, or if you hear my voice and you feel some sympathy for the person on the other side of the mic, and you're like, you know what, I do want to support him and what he's doing. It'd be cool if he was able to provide for his family by doing this podcast. Then there's a few things that you could do to help your boy out. The first thing that you can do is just share this podcast with the friend, with the family member, with the neighbor, with your accountant. Maybe you're trying to figure some stuff out, and your CPA is your go-to person, but you think they could benefit from listening to the show. Please share. And not only just that, but make sure to rate the show 5 stars wherever it is that you're listening to the podcast on. Spotify, Apple, heck, even YouTube. Subscribe, rate the show, spread it around. Let's build the show up so you know what I was actually thinking today, let's build the show up, not just so I can make a living doing this and provide for my family by doing this show full time and creating this type of content full time to encourage others, but I think it'd be really cool. Actually, one of my big goals with this show, with this platform, to eventually get to the point where we could create something, some kind of, I don't know, charity, foundation, nonprofit, whatever, that specifically looks to help single parent families through financial hardships. Heck, maybe it is just a single mom who's working 40, 50 hours a week, trying just to get by, and yet working all those hours, putting all that time away from her kids, away from the home to pay the bills, and she still ends up, a couple $100s short on rent, or can't afford groceries still, or the car breaks down and something unexpected like that, or the washing machine breaks down and you're like, I don't have any extra money to deal with this random thing that just popped up. I'm just even barely paying the basic things throughout the month. To have something in place to where, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of just vision pitching right now, hopefully manifesting something to where they could come, they can get some help, we can help support them, as I know a lot of people are really kind of the motto of the show, right? Really just trying to do the best that they can, but sometimes even as they're doing their best that they can, especially when it comes to finances, sometimes we just come up short, and sometimes we just need a little extra assistance. And I know it can be a little hit to the ego to ask for help in those ways sometimes, especially when it comes to money, because that can be awkward, and that can kind of feel defeating. Again, legit trying your best, going to work, putting in your hours, and then still not being able to go above and beyond for yourself, for your kids, whatever, when it comes to your budget. So do all those things. Let's spread the show, let's build the show, so hopefully maybe one day we can all use this platform to support one another through some practical means. So thinking a lot about this topic, finances and being a single parent, and I was thinking, I went to Google and I was kind of doing some research, just typing in just different questions to kind of see what is the reality out there for many single parents. And I think the most of the articles that I read regarding that topic said something to the effect like most single parent households, whoever that parent is, the mom, the dad raising the kids, is making $18 an hour, bringing home $18 an hour at their job. That was kind of the norm for many single parents in our country these days. And again, yes, that's going to vary by person to person, household to household. Some are going to be making way more. Some might unfortunately be making way less. But the numbers said usually they make about $18 an hour is kind of the norm for many single parent households. And I actually found this little statement from ZipRecruiter.com. They were kind of talking about the statistics on this subject, and I just kind of wanted to read really quick what they had to say. It says, as of August 6, 2023, the average hourly pay for a single parent in the United States is $17.61 an hour. So almost barely $18 an hour, like I said, right? Says, while ZipRecruiter is seeing hourly wages as high as $25.24 and as low as $9.38, the majority of single parent wages currently ranges between $12.50, 25th percentile, to $19.47, the 75th percentile, across the United States. So again, even according to them, most single parent households are bringing home around $20-ish an hour. And for so many people out there, that is just not enough. I mean, again, like my friend said, to just do all the things you need to do to survive on $20 an hour these days is almost impossible. So I know for some of you listening, you're hearing those numbers and you're hearing the realities and you're shaking your head. Yes, like that's me. Like that is me. That's where I'm at. And it's so hard. And I don't know how I'm going to do it sometimes. And I'm exhausted because I feel like I'm trying my best. And then there's all the other external pressures, right? Regarding this, it's like you're trying to make enough money to make ends meet. But to do that, you got to be away from the home sometimes. You got to be away from your kids, but you don't want to because as the single parent in the home, you still got to be involved with them. And maybe they're doing activities, and maybe you have to be here for parent teacher conferences, or maybe you just want to cuddle with them on the couch. You don't want to be taking an extra 2 or 3 jobs on the side. You just want to be present with your kids. So you feel guilty that you have to work all the time to pay your bills. But then when you're not working, you're stressed about money because maybe you should be doing this. And so there's just all these factors. And if that is you, I just, again, wanted to say we get it. We understand. We want to empathize with that. I've been there. I'm there a lot of the times, to be honest. So I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone in that. And actually, I think there's many of us out there who definitely can understand what this situation is like. So now I guess the question is like, okay, yeah, that's our situation. That's many of our situations out there. So what do we do? Like, how do we figure some things out just to get by? What are our options out there? What are some ideas that we might have out there? Like I said, my goal one day is to create something that offers support specifically for single parents out there. But obviously we got to get to that point before I can make that happen. So that's kind of my goal. But I came across this article from clevergirlfinance.com. It says 11 key tips on how to survive financially as a single mom or a single dad. So I was just curious. I just wanted to see what their tips were. I'm not going to read through the whole article. I'm just going to see what their bullet points are. So 11 key tips on how to survive financially as a single mom or dad. It says, number 1, change your financial mindset. There are plenty of stigmas attached to being a single mom or dad. You may have heard single moms are always poor. The truth is, it can be tough, especially when your children are small, and it's also easy to feel overwhelmed, but you're also in control of your mindset when approaching your finances. So change the mindset. The reality is, yeah, it's hard, but I guess they're saying, just try to think about the fact that maybe things could change. So change your mindset. Separate your finances from your ex-partner. So if you are going through a divorce or, whatever your situation is, they go into the fact that maybe you should separate yourself out a little bit to kind of give yourself that freedom. Next point says take out insurance for your family. So they talk about life insurance and how that's a good idea. Try to get on Medicaid if possible. There's different programs out there that can help when it comes to the medical side of life. Life insurance is obviously a very good idea, especially if it is truly just you. And if something happened to you, unfortunately, you got to think about where your kids would be. So that's definitely for anybody, really, especially if you do have kids, something to consider. Number 4 says increase your earnings. Wondering how to survive financially financially as a single mom on a low income, the easiest way to improve your situation is to increase your earnings. So that one, I'm like, well, duh. Like, obviously, everybody's wanting to increase their earnings. And they go into some tips on how to do that. But it's like, ask your employer for a raise, try to find a better paying job, take on a side hustle. But I think that's kind of like, yeah, duh. Number 5, start debt management to survive financially. So there's different programs out there to maybe help kind of get control of your budget. And maybe the situation is you're just not very good with a budget, and so there's some programs out there that obviously can help. Understand your taxes as a single mom, so get some help with that as well. Set financial goals to survive financially as a single mom. When learning how to survive financially as a single mom, make sure to look to your future. It can be easy to get caught up in making this month's rent or meal planning for the week ahead, and while these steps are critical, it's also important to consider your financial goals. Know exactly what your goal is and when you want to achieve it by. These can be divided into 3 categories: short-term goals, mid-term goals, and long-term goals. So basically they're saying like, hey, yeah, we got to pay the rent this week. We got to, figure out dinners and stuff this week, but set yourself up short, mid, and long-term goals to maybe help progress you a little bit. Like, for again, my long-term goal to get this show to a point where it can financially help support other people out there. That's a long-term goal I definitely want to have. Number 8, make a single mom budget. For sure, you got to have that budget, all the stuff that you have to pay. We got that. Number 9, find affordable housing. It can be hard to know how to survive financially as a single mom when the cost of accommodation in your area is high. If this is the case for you, consider moving somewhere more affordable. So there are affordable housing programs out there, so maybe it might be wise to consider looking into that. Get help with childcare. So I'm super blessed and super thankful because, as I said, my job is my full-time 9-to-5 job is a work from home remote job. So thankfully I get to just have my kids running around here with me. Yes, it gets super annoying. Yes, I want to pull my hair out most days. Yes, they're super loud, but it helps save me a lot of money financially because then I don't have to take them to babysitters and stuff like that. But again, I know that a lot of people in their circumstances, that's just not the case, and they do have a job where they need to find a sitter and stuff like that. So finding good, reliable, affordable childcare is a wise tip. And the last is seek help as a single mom or dad. Seeking help when needed is one of the most crucial financial tips for single mothers to utilize. If you're struggling to provide your family with the nourishment you all need, support is available. And then it talks about some different programs like WIC and things like that. I think that's a good point. I know some of those points were kind of like vague and generic, and like some of them were like, yeah, most people probably thought of some of those stuff. But I think the idea of looking for help and not being afraid to seek help, I think is wise, because I think sometimes we do try to put on the superhero cape, right? The Superman or the Supergirl cape, and try just to be strong and independent for ourselves and for our kids. But I think there's no shame in asking for help, and it doesn't make you less than if you're trying to seek help for your family, for your situation. Actually, I think that could be super healthy, because as we talked about on last week's episode of the show, the best thing that we can do at the end of the day is pour our healthy versions of ourselves into our kids. They're internalizing our presence with them, right? So if we're always hanging out around them, stressed and anxious about money and bills and stuff like that, they may not fully understand that, especially if they're super young. Like my daughters, they don't know, the fact that the garbage bill is due, and they don't know about this. They just know, hey, Dad, I want some money to go to the store to get slime. Like, that's all they know. But if they see me constantly stressed out about this and stressed about, actually, I'll give you a good example. So I told you I've been dealing with some stuff with my car. I did just get it back, but like the week before that, I was kind of going back and forth with the people who were trying to fix it, and they were trying to charge me all this extra money on top, and I was just super stressed out. And it was on a Friday that I was kind of going back and forth with them, and I had my girls that weekend. So I was talking to them like Friday at 4:00. I knew they were going to close at 5. And so I was like, you know what? Even though I'm stressed about this, I'm anxious about this, I got to come up with all this money for my car. The reality is that I'm not going to figure this out in the next hour before the shop closes. And not only just that, is that I have this whole weekend that I can spend with my girls, and I don't want this whole weekend with them to be me stressed and anxious and tense, trying to figure this whole thing out, right? Like, I can figure this out on Monday because they go back to their moms on Sunday night. So I can figure this out Monday when the girls are with their mom, the shop is back open. I can, have some time to process, and that's what happened. I was able to do that and everything worked out fine, but I just had to make a choice for myself in that moment of like, how do I want to show up this weekend for my girls? Do I want to show up anxious and stressed, and they're not going to fully understand what's going on with my car, but they're going to know that something's up with dad? Do I want to bring that presence to them, or do I just need to accept that, it is what it is? I need to just fully be healthy and present with my girls, and I'll figure out the rest later. Not saying that wasn't easy to do, and not saying I was perfect at living in that mindset all weekend, but I was glad I made that choice because everything did end up working out. So looking back, I'm glad I was able to have a great weekend with my girls, put that stuff to the side, and instead of wasting that whole time that I did have with my girls, that precious time that I did have with my girls, and worrying about stuff that was just basically out of my control. So I think for us, going back to the asking for help point, we just have to decide, how do I want to show up best for my kids? I know I want to show up the healthiest, most loving version of myself that's possible. And if I need to ask for some help or seek assistance or do this or that in order to be that for my kids, not just for my kids, but to be that for myself, then there's no harm, no foul, no shame in doing that. But what do you all think? What do you think about this whole topic when it comes to money and finances and this and that? How are you doing when it comes to this conversation? Are you in a place where you are just trying to figure it out? Are you struggling? Are you trying to find a job? Are you doing well? Like, is your situation a little bit different to where you're not so much stressing about money, but maybe there's some other things you're trying to figure out as a single mom or single dad? We want you to be a part of this conversation. I don't just want me just talking to you guys all the time. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your stories. So make sure you're using that email address, the singleparentspodcast@gmail.com. That's the singleparentspodcast@gmail.com. Write in. Let me know what you have going on. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you thought about that list I just went through, those 11 different points to finances when it comes to being a single parent. Just let me know all the things, and we're going to keep trekking along. So yeah, just let me know, and I'm going to go get ready for my daughters to come back home, get ready for the birthday week, get ready for all the craziness that's most likely to ensue because of that. And so I just want to say one more time, thank you so much for tuning in to the Single Parents Podcast. It definitely helps me reading some of these things, discussing some of these things out loud, knowing that I'm not alone in a lot of these realities, and that we really can work to build something together when it comes to this show, when it comes to this platform. So hopefully we can help each other practically, mentally, emotionally, all the things, because we just got to have each other's back sometimes. So that's what this show's about. Thank you for applying that to my life already. Hopefully I was able to bring some of that to your life as well this week. And other than that, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this episode of the Single Parents Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on the show. And until then, you just remember, you keep doing the best you can. My name's Anthony, and have a great week, everybody. Bye.